It started as just another hot Saturday morning in rural Georgia. The kind of morning where the sun rises lazy but burns quick, and the smell of dew mixes with the dust of the unpaved roads. I was drinking my coffee on the porch of my farmhouse when the thought finally stuck. I'm done watching my family bounce down that rutted dirt road every weekend. For generations, that road, a half-mile stretch from the county highway to my family's farm, had been ours. My grandfather carved it with a tractor and grit, and we'd maintained it ever since. But lately, a shiny new homeowners association had sprung up across the field, Willow Creek Estates. The kind of place where the lawns were all perfect. The houses looked like copy-paste jobs, and every mailbox matched. The HOA's president, a man named Douglas Finch, thought he owned everything his eyes touched. At first, I didn't pay them any mind. They put up fences, planted flower beds, and handed out friendly notices about community rules. But then one day, they put a gate halfway down my road. Said it was to protect the neighborhood. I laughed at first, thinking it was a mistake, until they locked it. My mother had to park on the side of the county road and walk the rest of the way home. My nephew's school bus wouldn't drive in. That's when I called Douglas. "Douglas," I said, trying to keep calm. "That road's been in my family for 70 years. You don't have the right to gate it off." He gave a fake chuckle. "Oh, I think you're mistaken. That access runs through our HOA property now. You'll have to apply for community access rights." "Access rights?" I said, my jaw tightening. "To my own land?" He sighed like I was a stubborn child. "The rules are there to keep everyone safe, Mr. Miller. We can't have random vehicles tearing up our roads." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. 2 days later, I drove down to the county records office. I spent 3 hours digging through old maps and plats, and there it was in black and white. Miller Road, privately owned by the Miller family since 1952. Clear as daylight. That night, I decided to make it official. I called up my cousin Eddie, who runs a paving company. "Eddie," I said, "how'd you like to make the smoothest piece of asphalt this county's ever seen?" The next morning, a convoy of trucks rolled down the county highway and up to the locked gate. The HOA residents peeked through their windows like prairie dogs. I walked up to the gate with my toolbox, cut the lock clean, and tossed it into the weeds. "Let's pave it," I said. The sound of asphalt hitting gravel echoed like thunder. The smell of tar hung in the air. And for the first time in decades, our family road was becoming something real, something permanent. Halfway through the job, Douglas came marching down the street in khaki shorts and a polo shirt so tight you could see his heartbeat. He was red-faced, holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. Stop this immediately," he shouted, waving his hands. Eddie killed the machinery, and I turned to face him. "You're trespassing," he barked. I couldn't help but laugh. "Douglas, this is my road." He jabbed a finger toward the pavement. "This is HOA property, and you are vandalizing community infrastructure." "I'm calling the cops." "Good," I said. "Tell them to bring a copy of the county map when they come." He stormed off, muttering something about lawyers and civil penalties. The paving crew shrugged and kept working. By sunset, the job was done. Smooth black asphalt shining under the orange sky. My mom came out and cried when she saw it. But the next morning, things escalated. I woke to the sound of sirens. Blue and red lights flashed across the fields. 3 sheriff's cruisers rolled up, followed by Douglas and 2 other HOA board members standing there like they were about to witness justice served. An officer stepped out and adjusted his hat. "Morning, Mr. Miller. Got a call about some property damage." Douglas jumped in before I could speak. "Yes, officer. This man illegally paved HOA land, destroyed a security gate, and endangered community safety." I handed the officer a folder, copies of the property records, survey maps, and even a notarized deed. "This road's been ours since before Willow Creek was even a thought," I said. "They're the ones trespassing." The officer flipped through the papers, nodding slowly. Then he turned to Douglas. "Sir, this paperwork looks pretty clear." Douglas scoffed. No, that can't be right. Our HOA agreement states..." "Your HOA agreement," the officer interrupted, "doesn't override county records." The color drained from Douglas's face. But he wasn't done. He pointed to one of his board members, a tall woman with sunglasses perched on her head. "We have easement rights. This man's been blocking our residents." I folded my arms. "You mean the residents who've been using my family's private road as their shortcut?" The officer sighed. "All right, everyone, calm down." He radioed for the county assessor. who arrived an hour later with an official truck and a drone. After a quick scan, the assessor confirmed it. This road sits entirely on Miller property. The HOA's fence and gate were built illegally. I thought that would be the end of it, but Douglas wasn't giving up. He whispered something to the woman next to him, then they both walked down the road, pacing and pointing. Suddenly, she ducked under the police tape and started walking toward my field. The officer shouted, "Ma'am, stay where you are!" But she kept going. Next thing I knew, the sheriff's deputy was escorting both of them back, handcuffed. Apparently, they'd crossed into restricted private property during the investigation. The irony was so thick you could have paved another road with it. Douglas's face was crimson. "This is a mistake." "I'm the HOA president," the deputy smirked. "Well, Mr. President, today you're under arrest for trespassing." I stood there, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold. A few of the Willow Creek residents were gathered at the end of their pristine cul-de-sac, filming on their phones. I could almost hear the captions forming, "HOA president arrested for trespassing on farmer's land." When the cruisers drove off, Eddie nudged me. "Guess that's one way to open a road," I grinned. "Yeah, the hard way." Over the next few weeks, the story spread like wildfire. Local news ran the headline, "Man paves family road. HOA tries to stop him, ends up in handcuffs." Even the county commissioner called to apologize for the mix-up and promised to make the HOA remove their illegal fence. A few of the Willow Creek residents came by afterward, not to argue but to shake my hand. Turns out they weren't all like Douglas. One older man said, "Honestly, that gate was a pain for us too. You did everyone a favor. I didn't hold grudges. I just wanted peace. So I told them, you can use the road, just don't claim it." By the time the dust settled, the road had become a symbol, not just for my family, but for anyone tired of being pushed around by people hiding behind paperwork and fake authority. One evening I was sitting on that same porch again, watching the sun dip low over the asphalt that now gleamed like glass. My mom came out with 2 glasses of sweet tea. "You did good, son," she said softly. "Your granddad would have been proud." I looked out at the smooth black stretch leading down toward the county highway, the same road my grandfather once carved out of nothing but red clay. "I didn't do it for pride," I said. "I did it so no one could ever lock us out of our own home again." She smiled. "Still, it's something." That night, fireflies danced over the fields. The crickets sang, the world was quiet, and the road, our road, was finally free. But Douglas's story wasn't quite over. A month later, I got a letter from his lawyer threatening to sue for emotional distress and property interference. My attorney, an old friend from school, sent back a single-page reply. Client paved and maintained his own legally owned property. Any further correspondence will be considered harassment. We never heard back. Sometimes, when I drive that road now, I can still see the faint tire marks from the paving machines. Each one feels like a small victory. Proof that standing your ground still means something. Funny thing is, after all that chaos, the HOA ended up applying for a shared use agreement to legally access the road. I signed it, with one condition. They'd pay a small maintenance fee every year, directly to the Miller family. So now every time Douglas's shiny SUV rolls past my farm, it's technically driving on our pavement, and the HOA pays me for it. Call it justice, or maybe just good business. Either way, I can't help but smile every time I see that freshly painted sign at the entrance. Miller Road, private property. Welcome home.